Plans for translating the largest educational philanthropic donation ever made, not just to Burr and Burton Academy, but to any secondary school in Vermont. The Roland Project, named after Barry and Wendy Rowland, the school's benefactors, were unveiled at the school's Riley Center on Thursday, July 11th. The $20 million gift will be used in part to construct a new 25,000 square foot building that faces towards the school's existing buildings and is set against the slope of the hill that eventually becomes Mount Equinox. It will also be used to convert the school's existing faculty and staff parking lot into a courtyard that will link the new building to the existing campus and usher in a new approach to framing education when the new structure is ready. Kyle Murphy, a Burr and Burton alumnus from the class of 2007, has been named as the architect of the project, and he gave an overview of the proposed new complex at the presentation.
So this is that main thoroughfare that would be coming off of the back of the seminary building that would be leading us to the main entrance of this building. The whole thing would be stepping back up into the hill. We've been showing that the bottom two levels of the building are expressed with the natural slate, and that's partially because we want that part of the building really to feel like it's coming out of the landscape. And then the top is a standing seam metal panel, which will basically be forming, it's almost like a bridge that's connecting back into the hill. And then there'll be a rooftop terrace here that will open up from the top of that mess. But this would be that main entrance on the ground level when you walk in to where that grand stair would begin. And then to the left here, this is one of the neighborhoods. We have 4 learning spaces and a learning commons. So this would be a big garage door that would open up between one of the learning spaces and the learning commons that would allow, if there was a sort of 2 or 3 classes that wanted to get together in this space, they could do that. And then otherwise, teachers can still use these rooms as more traditional classrooms if they want to do it, or it enables them to have 3 or 4 teachers working collaboratively in this space, as opposed to, classrooms on a hallway. And then over here we will have the STEAM Center, which STEAM as in, maker space. It's kind of like woodshop light. I'm thinking of almost like being in an architecture studio. So we'll have, 3D printers and laser cam and model building and access to technology, and that will sort of form this tech suite that will also flank this main space in the center here.
Mark Tashin, Burr and Burton's headmaster, also described some of the ideas underlying the project at the Riley Center unveiling.
When we first started conceiving of a new building, one of the things that drove it was the notion or the question, what if we could design a building that supported the kind of education that we envision in the future? And that's what got us really excited about a new building. It wasn't just, let's build a new building and let's put some classrooms in it and make them just like everything else. Rather, we had the proposition to build what we thought would be the first 21st century classroom building at Burr and Burton, arguably the first 21st century classroom building in this state. It's a building that thought differently about architecture because we're thinking differently about education. Rather than thinking about a class and a classroom, this is the math classroom. We want to think about our classrooms as neighborhoods, or a group of classrooms as neighborhoods. And in fact, a group of learning spaces create a neighborhood. And in those neighborhoods, you can then foster that kind of cross-disciplinary thinking that I was talking about that we think is part of 21st century education. So we're building a new building. Right now, all our buildings are full. And so there's no room to move. But the proposition is that if we create a new building, we can take pieces out of each one of our existing buildings and create an integrative neighborhood in that new building.
He also talked further about the underlying principles and philosophy that were guiding the ambitious initiative the following week.
In a learning neighborhood, what you want is for the different programs and classes to be clumped together in a way where their proximity increases their learning potential. So what does that look like? The simple examples are, putting math and science together, putting English and social studies together. But what happens in schools is what happens really in in a lot of organizations, and that is that as space gets tight, you have each new program or each new person comes in and someone scratches their head and says, where should we put them? And you put people or you put programs where you have a little space or where you can squeeze it out. And over time, what you end up with is a patch quilt of programs put where they needed to be in the moment where there was space. Now we have the opportunity with 25,000 square feet of new facility. We have the opportunity to, on purpose, put together a group of programs that we think work together. And then in doing that, it empties other spaces in our other buildings, and we get to make other moves to create other learning neighborhoods that, again, make sense, including, by the way, administrative neighborhoods. So let me give you some examples. We have a new building. The new building is going to have English and social studies as an integrated humanities department. And we're adding to that our library. And the 21st century library looks a lot different. Now libraries are really a place of collaboration and connection. They need to have the right technology so that you can do research, global research on the web. And so they're places of support for learning. And then the other program we're putting into the new building is our STEAM Center: science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. A STEAM Center is really it's a maker space, and it's, again, a place that can support learning and support projects throughout the school. So we have two school-wide resources, the library and our STEAM Center, coupled with English and social studies. And that creates, to us, a very powerful way of bringing together those programs on purpose. So the proposition, as Kyle has laid out and as you'll see in the plans, is that we can put a building that's focused on this corner of our space with arms that open up and are embracing the bell tower and the history of the school. It stands to the side so that not only are we preserving the view of the mountain, but we actually enhance it as this parking lot turns into a courtyard. Therefore, and then the building itself will grow out of the landscape. So it's stair steps up the landscape rather than being, one monolithic building with a clean wall. It'll actually have a slope to it in a way that will, again, frame and enhance the mountain view. And additionally, when you come into the building, the idea is for this central staircase that you'll see in the plans. This central staircase brings you in and then again turns and encourages people to look at and honor Equinox Mountain. Once you get to the top floor, there's a room we're calling the bell tower room, because it will then look directly at our bell tower, and in fact, because of its height, it will be looking over the bell tower and we'll see down the valley into the mountains. So we'll have this extraordinary view of our newest building and clearly our most modern building, honoring the past while looking to the future. And that's the combination we were looking for from a design standpoint.
The new building and courtyard is scheduled to start construction next spring, and the hope is to have it finished by June of 2021. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.